Hi guys, it's Grace.
Hi, it's Maria.
And we are the Indigos. And we're here, we're going to be talking about, in response to one of the girls that is following us, which we really love that she's doing that. She has asked a big question about dealing with confrontation. So we're going to just talk about confrontation and how we deal with it. Lorraine and I are both different with how we deal with certain things, so we'll just share our ways of dealing with confrontation.
Well, for me at least, to talk about confrontation, one, I feel like it's not a black and white subject because I think it's case by case. I think it depends on the dynamic prior to the interaction. I think it also takes a little perception on both persons' end to see what they're dealing with and kind of have an idea of how you want the conversation to go. I say that because how I do things when it comes to confrontation, I'm very, very upfront, where certain things I say, because they're so upfront and I don't hold back, it could turn into a confrontation if I don't handle it with care. And I feel like that's something over the years I've been able to master where,
No, I was gonna say, do people get defensive?
Yes, I've dealt with all kinds of different people, and I feel like maybe for me personally, it's been a strong point to have an idea of what I'm dealing with, where I don't look at everything from the surface. I don't look at a situation, if someone's yelling at me, I don't go to the place of they're yelling at me, I go to the place, what happened to get them to this point? Why are they yelling at me? Is this pain? Is this hurt? Is this resentment? Like, what's going on? An example of that, dealing with certain people, I guess, there's different dynamics with your family, friends, and even the workplace. One thing with workplace, I feel like when I'm working with people, I'm a little more sensitive towards what I say to people because I don't want it to be perceived in a certain way, because friends know your intention. Family, hopefully if you have a close dynamic with people that you're related to, they have an idea of your intention, so they're not as easily offended, opposed to someone who really doesn't know how you mean it, why you mean it the way you do. So I feel like a lot of times people automatically think it's an attack, to be honest.
Yeah, well, sometimes like confrontation, it doesn't always have to be an attack where you have to be defensive. It's also can be about just issues that you both have different points of views, and that's a different type of confrontation. It could be, there's many different ways of confronting people about certain things, but it's hard because sometimes like people are very attacking with the ways that they deal with confrontation, and so then that obviously attracts a defensiveness from somebody who's talking to you. Whereas if you might be talking about different opinions, but still that can also escalate into like a really volatile situation depending on how you deliver what you're trying to say. So yeah, it's different perspectives, isn't it?
No, yeah. I think that one thing that I can say that has helped me, I've noticed with a lot of people, for me, a lot of people can sometimes yell or be a radical, irrational, whatever the case might be. And I've learned not to rise to their energy, because I've learned that just makes everything worse. Because sometimes, depending on how feeble or intense the mind is, some people will hear tone and they'll just think of, why are you yelling at me? And then it kind of takes away your real point. I feel like a lot of confrontations become something else because people get lost in the language and translation opposed to the actual point. So staying focused on whatever the situation is. So if I'm explaining something to someone and if they misunderstand me, it's not my job to defend how I'm to be understood. It's my job to right the wrong of offending someone. And I say that because I've had people where they've taken something personally, where I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you like, you don't understand my intentions, I have to apologize. They took it that way. And sometimes that has made it a little easier when I can say, you know what, I'm sorry that it was taken that way, but that wasn't my intention. This is what it was. And for me,
so I mean, yeah, obviously like communication is so vital for confrontation.
Absolutely.
Because it doesn't need to be all wilding out and acting all crazy and shit. Like confrontation can be very civilized, but in a way where because like for me it's like, not that I'm I'm not as direct as you, so it's like it's not, I can say things that are direct, but I say it in a way that's not too like, okay, for last night.
Oh my God, that's great.
So we'll share this experience of last night where it wasn't a confrontation, but it was just like about what to say, when to say kind of thing. So this is my way of how I would ask for something, right? So I said to Loraya, because I was already lying in bed and she was like up and walking around and stuff. And I said to her, are we going to leave the light on?
That was her way.
Hint.
Well, that was her way of like suggesting something. And I'm so direct where I'm like, Grace, just tell me to turn the light off. Like, you don't have to tell me should we as though it's an idea. You don't have to make it sound like it was my idea. Just say, I don't want the light on, turn it off. So but that was funny.
Yeah.
So funny.
But
that
that's
was
how like, you know, we both deal with confrontation, I think. Like you're like, say what it is and, you know, work out how to deliver that. And I'm more like, say it in a way that is a little bit more maybe diplomatic, but, you know, over the ages as well, over time, I've learned to be a little bit more direct and stuff. And I guess, like, with both of us being the way that we are, we have to have a lot of conviction because of our ideas, being creatives and drawing up, you know, our conceptual ideas and delivering them to people. So we have to convince people a lot. So, you know, for that reason, there has to be a lot of confrontation, but from a different point of view as well. It's not about like an attack or anything. It's about a deliverance of ideas, but you still have to be strong in your conviction of that, as do you when you have confrontation.
Yeah, and you definitely have to, I just feel like before I bring up a situation, I like to think about what it is what point I'm trying to get across. Like I try and dig deep into my own intention, so that sometimes I feel like a lot of conversations, the reason they go crazy is because people are talking on the fly. They're just saying whatever, and they're not taking just 1 second to actually like say, okay, like what is it I want out of the situation? Is the conflict going to be bigger than the actual situation? Do I love this person enough that it doesn't need to even get to that point? Like, how do I want to fix the situation? I try to, instead of pointing fingers, I try to figure out, okay, check myself first.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Pointing fingers and checking yourself first before you talk about things that are confronting for you. So I think it's all about stepping back and then assessing the situation, coming forward with that situation in the best light possible for both of you to understand in a civilized manner. Yeah. And then like working out how to interweave that so both your point of views can be heard. Yeah. I think that's probably like, that's a really good way. That's ideally a good way to do it. But it's hard sometimes because people act crazy and people get very defensive as well.
But you can't, again, what makes it a little easier, because I've been in extreme situations, I've been in really calm situations, I've noticed just from like trying everything out that good and bad, I've tried it all. I've learned that when I don't match someone's defensiveness, I find a balance. And it's maybe because I'm a Libra, I'm all about the scales, but like if someone's being intense with me, I look at them, I say, let's talk it out. Let's make it better. Instead of rising to the occasion, because I know there's times where I'm really intense and I need that. So I try to give that as well, which I've found that it's easier. So if someone's pointing the finger, instead of pointing it back, because then it becomes something negative, just saying, okay, well, let me
you're playing with fire and fire. So it's never gonna, you need fire and water and balance.
Yeah, you always have to have two people kind of doing that. And then the one thing that we'd seen in the comment with one of our viewers, she had said that she's usually the person speaking for people. I feel that maybe instead of speaking for people, just motivating them both to talk together, where it's kind of like, okay, I get that you need, you want to talk to this person, but it would be better coming from you, because no one can tell your story, your point of view better than you. And
also, like, to our viewer that does do that, don't do that. Don't take on anyone else's shit, because you've got enough shit to carry in your life. Like, really, like, and then that stuff just piles on top of you and makes it heavy for you to carry. So for yourself, don't do that. Nobody should fight, everyone should fight their own battles, really, but you should have people that are loyal but around you and support you, but fight your own battles. And you apply it to situations. Find the balance always.
Oh, right? Absolutely. Yeah, it's all about the balance. And just, again, when you're dealing with these situations, like we said, we check ourselves first. And when I'm wrong, I'm the first one, especially when it comes to an argument, situation, disagreement, where are those mistakes? Because honestly, when you put yourself out there, you get to learn more and be a better person where you'll make less of those mistakes. Where I feel like, you know, you're always, I mean, we're always gonna make mistakes, but I feel like we're making a lot less mistakes because we are claiming everything, good and bad. We're putting ourselves in a position to be vulnerable where it's like, oh, if I'm wrong, I have to say, okay, this was my perception. I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry. I want to make it better. Yeah. Because that's the only way you can is, you know, two people fighting egos, you're never going to get anywhere. All it's going to do is escalate into you're yelling at me, then maybe it's passive aggressive terms. It becomes something totally different where just, you know, submit, be submissive to making a solution happen. And it's hard. I can say it's hard because I'm not submissive by nature. It's not my personality. I'm very fire. Let's get it done. Let's do this. All this craziness. Right? And then like, and then Grace is more like the chill. I've learned in confrontation, that side of me doesn't do well. It doesn't serve the situation to be better. So you have to kind of really call when it's a good time to bring out certain strengths, certain weaknesses within yourself. And so that's something I've learned. That's where I find myself submissive in confrontation, because I will fight a battle, but I don't want unnecessary conflict. I want to make things easier. That takes up
so much energy.
Oh my God, no one wants to be drained. Let's just say sorry, hug it out, and fix it.
Yeah, right. I think the main thing is to find a solution to the end of that as well. When you have the confrontation and you're going through it all, and you can just kind of work it all out, just through expressing yourselves to one another and finding that balance of how to communicate. It's like how to communicate, how I find the balance, how to communicate. So like with Ray, like, you know, because the way she is, like I would find the balance if I had a confrontation with her by speaking the way I speak, like in terms of like calming it down, calming the situation down if she's fiery, or if she's feeling the other way of like pulling back and just going, oh, you know what, I don't want to deal with this kind of thing. But really, she should deal with it. So I'd be like, okay, I think actually we need to talk about this. And let's just talk about it from our points of view and just work out how we can be better and learn from each other. So, and then at the end of it, you come with, you know, come to a solution of how to compromise the situation. And that's the key thing, is always like coming to the compromise of where you're both coming from. You don't have to agree. You can agree to disagree, you know? So not all the time will you always agree with certain situations, but you just are able to hear, pull your ego away, and just hear with an open heart what that other person has to say and what you have to say, and how you can both help each other grow with different perspectives.
Exactly. And again, with anything, everything takes practice, and you actually have to do it to practice. So even with your relationships, your friendships, you know, start with one person, but you want to practice, because honestly, it becomes easier and easier when you talk to someone and you figure out, you know, how both of you move under certain emotions. Then it becomes a functional relationship, dynamic friendship, because you guys have worked out, okay, this doesn't work with us. But to avoid it, because I know there's a lot of people that avoid confrontation, that's worse than being irrational in a situation, because at least the rational person is trying to fix it.
Well, yeah,
you know, they're trying to get it out, whatever that is.
Yeah, and then it just like it sits on you. You know, when there's confrontation or things that you need to say, it sits heavy on you. So you really need to just be open and to express yourself with your point of view and the other person's point of view, and just work it all out.
Yeah, I agree. Man, we figured it out. We've cracked the Da Vinci Code. I'm just kidding. Anyway.
I think politicians could take a leaf of this.
Yes, if you'd like to watch, feel free. If you need us to come speak for you guys, we're in there like swimwear.
Oh, yeah. All right, well, that wraps up this conversation about confrontation. As I said earlier today, this morning when we did our first video for today, that we're going to be doing a lot of videos together while I'm in LA with Ray, and just follow us, retweet us, do whatever we need to do to make this community bigger, to help one another grow and evolve and elevate each other and support one another through trials and tribulations and topical things and shit we deal with everyday life, because it ain't easy.
No, not at all.
And we have to help one another to grow.
Yes. And again, if you guys have any topics, anything you want to discuss, Would love to hear what you have to say. This has been awesome. Thank you guys so much. Love your suggestion, mamas. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.